The finger roll not there for him at the other end. Danielle Marshall, yes.
Can I make a point about Marcus Camby and his jump shot?
Sure.
Sometimes, you see guys, and this is more so on the college level, you see guys whose jump shots have a funny hitch, and maybe it's born of somebody, not being strong enough as a young guy. I'm not sure where you get that kind of form with your Marcus Camby, because it's a funky over-the-head kind of thing.
He fouls Devin Brown. Camby not happy with the call, but that's about the only thing that's gone wrong for the Nuggets all night long. Here with the cue with Cleveland, and they are routing the injury-depleted Cavaliers. Welcome back to Cleveland. It's been all Denver here tonight. Lots of smiling on that Denver bench. A 28-point lead over the Cavs. 8:42 to go. Little Denver news, or at least a Denver rumor. Here's Rick Bucher.
Yeah, first of all, let's get to the injuries that have gone from bad to worse to catastrophic for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Zydrunas Ilgauskas is going to miss the rest of the game with back spasms, and Damon Jones is in the locker room being examined for an unspecified condition right now. We talked about Denver, though, and all those teams in the Western Conference who have made a move to improve themselves for the stretch run. But Denver is looking to answer that themselves. They've been in protracted talks with the Sacramento Kings trying to get Ron Artest. Now, what they'd like to do is to get him without having to give up Linus Kleza, which is what Sacramento wants. Remains to be seen what they can get done, but the conversation continues. And because of some of the issues that Artest is having with Coach Reggie Theus right now, it seems that although Sacramento feels it has an outside chance of actually getting into the mix in the Western Conference, at least the owners, Maloof, feel that way, that they might be willing to move him for a quality player or two. And Denver very much would like to be the team that picks him up, feels that he could have a great presence for them defensively, Dan.
Well, Rick, that would be very interesting. Obviously, teams like the Lakers and Phoenix have made big moves, and San Antonio's made a move as well. This Denver team has some interesting personalities on it already, and everybody seems to be getting along fine. Does that make it the whole thing? The whole mix a little bit too combustible if Ron Artest joins the team.
Well, I think you make a great point. It seems like there's a little bit of an arms race going on in the Western Conference. Denver obviously trying to keep pace. I thought the last point Rick made was a huge one. Defensively, you think about now, you've got Kenyon Martin, terrific defender. You've got Marcus Camby, the reigning Defensive Player of the Year. And we have said a tremendous amount of positive things about both Allen Iverson and Carmelo Anthony. And with all due respect to their physical attributes on the offensive end, there are times where defensively they can get lost. They were making jokes about that this morning at practice. To get that third defensive stopper with the physical gifts that Ron Artest has, and somebody who can score it, oh man, I like the intriguing possibilities of that. J.R.
Smith again, and so many coaches, so many teams feel that the playoffs and regular season are two different animals, and you can't run up and down, score 125 points in the playoffs. You're going to have to get stops, and Ron Artest could help them get stops. Shannon Brown knocks down a jumper.
Well, and that's why the acquisition of Shaq is important. I think it's a lot easier to slow the pace of the game, Dan, than it is to speed it up. So when you grind against San Antonio, and Shaq is going to go ahead and guard Tim Duncan, and you have to grind against other Western Conference teams, guess what? Shaq, that's a huge get.
Another turnover, Linus Kleza with a miss, but again, the Nuggets, they're racing down the floor. A couple of the Cavaliers walking back on defense. There was an extra Denver body, and they wind up getting rewarded with more free throws. And this is what Mike Brown's talking about, giving into the score. Nobody's going to feel sorry for this team. Coach Brown just wants to see some honest effort in the last 12 minutes.
Number 6, Shannon Brown, his third, team's fourth.
Foul on Shannon Brown, his third.
Foul on the Nuggets, number 43, Linus Kleza.
And a technical foul on Linus Kleza. Shannon Brown will shoot it as we go back to Rick.
Damon Jones has been diagnosed with a sprained right ankle. He is out for the remainder of this game and is being listed as day-to-day moving forward. Dan?
They're going to have a real problem suiting up a team tomorrow night down in Orlando, possibly, with 4 guys out already tonight and 2 more players leaving because of injuries in this game.
Yeah, and what these injuries do for Mike Brown, and I talked about their defense, and that was a huge part of their run to the finals. Yes, LeBron was sensational, and LeBron on the offensive end carries them, but they were a terrific defensive team, and that helped them get to the finals. Now you cannot practice competitively. You can't really improve your defense. Your rotations are obviously pretty difficult without these 4 guys. So, when can you start working? When can you start moving your team for that stretch run?
figure out a way to get to the All-Star break without too much more damage being done and get healthy over the few days. But in the case of Pavlovich and Averja, they're fairly long-term injuries. Cedric Simmons with a layup. An opportunity for guys like Cedric Simmons and Shannon Brown to get some minutes, and they may be needed in the next couple of games with all these injuries piling up. Iverson drives baseline. Carter the extra pass. Klaiza's open for three. Beautiful basketball at the offensive end tonight by the Denver Nuggets.
They're so unselfish. Everybody giving up a good shot for a better shot.
A block by Nahara, and he's actually frustrated with himself that he didn't keep it in bounds. He got to it so easily.
I love this guy. I like how hard he plays. You know he's going to do this every single night. It'll be interesting to see. And George Karl touched on this a little bit earlier. Maybe a three-point shot coming in his arsenal down the road.
Yeah, another guy like Klaiza. The shot wasn't there for Nahara, but Coach Karl would see him taking 20-footers in practice, and he said, why don't you step back 3 feet and let's see how it goes. George Karl said to Nahara, I'll give you 20 games. You go out and shoot your threes sensibly for 20 games, and we'll see how it goes. And it's gone well enough that they're keeping it in the offense. Yakuba Diawara getting into the game here in the fourth quarter is fouled on his way to the rim and will step aside with under 6 to go. All Denver here tonight, up nearly 30 on the Cavs. Well, Marcus, you well know a 3-game losing streak, you can drop about 6 spots in the Western Conference. That's how loaded it is, and everybody vying for position. You called it an arms race out west, and the trade deadline is still 11 days away, and you got a feeling, Doris, we haven't seen the end of the deal.
I don't think there's any question about that. And I tell you this, Phoenix leads the league in scoring. 6 straight years the team that Steve Nash has been on has led the NBA in scoring. Big surprise.
That's quite the coincidence, isn't it? And again, everybody fascinated to see how it'll turn out once Shaq gets healthy and into the lineup and acclimated with the Suns. Diawara at the line for Denver.
Well, Shelly Smith had a chance to sit down and do a one-on-one sit-down with Shaquille O'Neal, and he said during that interview that he told Coach D'Antoni, you won't have to adjust to me. I will adjust to you.
See how many looks he gets, how comfortable he is when they're pushing it up and down the floor, trying to score in the first 7 or 8 seconds. Simmons off to Brown. Shannon Brown, that is. Shannon and Devin. Both in the game for Cleveland. Offensive rebound by Simmons. And Snow comes up with it. Open look, Shannon Brown. Carter taps it ahead. What a play. Diawara with the layup.
Boy, how good is that? What kind of anticipation of where your teammate's going to be. And we talked to George Karl about him and his improvement. He said he plays with his confidence, his swagger that sort of rubs off on the rest of our guys. An incredible statement when you think AI and Melo are on this team.
That's right. And the so-called 50-50 balls, the loose balls, boy, it seems like most of them are going to the Nuggets tonight. They are just out hustling the Cavaliers. Rebound to Smith off the miss by Devin Brown. Denver enjoying this one. Will finish up their schedule before the break at Orlando, at Miami. Cleveland has got to find enough desire and enough healthy bodies to go down and play in Orlando tomorrow night. Smith with his 6th 3 of the game. That's the most he's hit in any game this season, except for the 7 he hit against Cleveland back in November.
He can get it rolling, can't he?
Oh, boy.
And he hasn't really shot it well. It's been a problem for him in getting his minutes because since December, his three-point shooting has not been great.
Marshall with a miss in close. Well, we talked about it. Rick Bucher's talked about it, the changes in the Western Conference. Here's how things began out west. Now Damon Stoudemire is with San Antonio. Chris Webber signs with Golden State. Pau Gasol, the trade to the Lakers that shook up the conference. And then the response by the Suns as they pick up Shaq.
I think you got 2 aces on the left. 2 absolute aces.
2 difference makers. Damon Stoudemire sharing time at the point for the Spurs along with Jacques Vaughn until Tony Parker gets back from the bruised heel. San Antonio losing in Boston earlier today on ABC. The Lakers winning in Miami earlier today on NBC, and Washington and Phoenix later tonight here on ESPN. Go to NBA.com to learn the details of how you, the fan, can help determine this year's Sprite Slam Dunk champ at 2008 All-Star in New Orleans. They dunk, but you decide. Details on NBA.com. It's Dwight Howard, Rudy Gay, Gerald Green, and Jamario Moon. Brown switches hands and draws the foul.
I'm not sure there's